He's been depressed lately. He's been lashing out at people. He's been talking about the fact that he can't trust anybody around him. He doesn't have anybody around him he could trust. All things I totally understand because he's a commodity that people in the industry want to make money with. He's got money problems. He had to sell his music catalog for, I think, $200 million to get out of debt. He owed people money. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard so many people in that industry that made so much money and went broke. They don't want to let you live. They want to put you back in the studio. They want to use you as much as they possibly can. And I'll tell that to anybody. No, it's not that. Yes, it is that way. That's the industry. That's how it goes. You know, all of a sudden, you got a whole bunch of people around you trying to tell you what to do, trying to make a buck off of you, you know, giving you advice, leading you in a certain direction, and they all got their hands out. That's the industry. It just happens. So my advice to you, Justin, hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. And as always, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to our God for that. You know, there's certain things that really trouble me, you know, and I've been thinking a lot about this because it's been in the news quite a bit. And that is the condition, I would say, of Justin Bieber right now. Not only Justin, but Britney Spears. You know, I can never say that I was a fan of either one of them. I mean, I'm older. I appreciate their talent. My daughter was a big fan of Justin Bieber's, and my daughters were fans of Britney Spears because they're dancers. And she was a, tremendously gifted dancer at one point in time. And just watching these two, you know, I still consider them young people, and the trajectory of their life right now, being part of this industry, is very troubling. Because I think, you know, inherently, they're both good people. They're good kids, I would call them, and I can call them that. I could be their father, I could be their grandfather. And so I wanted to get into that a little bit. You know, Britney Spears, for the moment, I don't know what is going on with that girl, but, you know, it's sad to watch. I don't know if you've seen her lately, but she comes on and she does these videos. What's really got me is she was a tremendously gifted dancer. She was terrific. Well, she can't even dance to the beat anymore. I mean, she's kind of lost it. And it's the industry and all this, you know, glamour that they have and the pressure that they have on them. Let me tell you, this is a tough business. I've been in and around it for a lot of years. I know the players, I know how it goes, I know the pressure that's put on a lot of these young people to perform and, you know, make money for people, and it gets to you. It really does. So let me get to Justin because, you know, again, I could be his father, I could be his grandfather. And if I had any control over him or I had the ability to sit down with him, I would have a good conversation and I would really, really try to put him on the right track. You know, with him, I think if you notice lately, for those of you that watch him, I don't know if you do, but again, I have a young daughter, my wife, you know, we get to see what's going on. He's in the news all the time, you know, and I think he's been depressed lately. He's been lashing out at people. He's been talking about, you know, the fact that he can't trust anybody around him. He doesn't have anybody around him he could trust. All things I totally understand because he's a commodity that people in the industry want to make money with. That's what it boils down to. That's what the industry is all about. And this has started a long time ago, going back to Hollywood with people like, you know, Jane Mansfield and Elizabeth Taylor and Judy Garland. If you hear stories about them, how they were treated by the studios, you know, they were like just all they were objects to make money with. My friends, I know something about having power, whether it's on the streets or in the media. It's all about who controls the narrative. And right now, the mainstream media is trying to control yours, whether you realize it or not. I've been using this platform called Ground News, and it's completely changed how I look at the news. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Remember the Hunter Biden pardon story? How can we forget it? It was everywhere. Well, over 1,000 news sources covered that same story, but watch what happens when we compare headlines from the different outlets. You see how each one spins it differently? That's what makes Ground News different. They're the only platform that lets you see exactly how the media machine works, and yes, it is a machine. They break down the political bias of every source. They show you which stories are being buried by different sides, and this is crucial. They expose who actually owns these news organizations, and that makes a difference, a big difference in how it's reported. In today's world, you can't afford to be in the dark. Ground news gives you something invaluable, and that is the ability to see through the smoke and mirrors and the gaslighting of mainstream media. Right now, you can get the same tools I use for half price. Just go to ground.news/MF or scan this QR code where you'll get 40% off their premium Vantage plan. Come on, that's less than a cup of coffee for the same tools I use to stay informed. You know, with everything that's happening in our country right now, so much going on, you need to see the full picture, not just what they want you to see. So don't wait on this. Take control of your information today. You want to be in the know the right way? Get to Ground News. It's an offer that you shouldn't refuse. And the way they treated these people, it was terrible. It really was. And even though it's progressed a little bit, it's kind of the same way. You know, Justin, I think a lot of this started, when all this Diddy stuff came out, because Diddy did get a hold of him, many, many years ago when Justin was just breaking into the industry. He was around Diddy for a long time. Whether or not Diddy took advantage of him in the way that we're hearing things now, I don't know. Justin, to my knowledge, has never come out and said anything negative in that regard about Diddy, other than the fact that he was let down by all of these allegations with Diddy. Did he say that he was victimized by it? He didn't really come out and say that. At least I didn't hear it. And correct me if I'm wrong if you've heard something differently. So I think that a lot started with that, and then, he's married. It's a young marriage, and I think he's having some issues there. And I just feel for him because I think the pressure of this business has really gotten to him. And listen, he grew up as a Christian, and look, I'm going to put it out there for you non-Christians. This is just the way it is, and this is who I am, and I'm going to talk about it. I think in a lot of ways, he's moved away from his faith because the business has put such pressure on him to perform, to do well. The media, you know what it is to constantly have the media hounding you? Everything you do is under a microscope. They're wanting you to make a mistake. They're wanting to jump on everything that you do. When you're going through troubled times, to have those people all over you like leeches, I'm sorry, these gossip columnists. When I see a guy as a gossip column, it gets me sick. Guys should not be gossiping about anybody. And, that's a lot of pressure. And he's getting fed up with that. It's hard for him to deal with. And some people will say, well, you know what? It comes with the territory. Yeah, it does. But it's still invasive. And it's still hard for some people to deal with when everything you're doing is under a microscope, especially when you're going through some troubled times. I think basically he's a good young man. He's a good kid. And if I were able to sit down with him, I would tell him first, you can't put your trust in all these people because you're a commodity that they want to make money with. That's first and foremost. And you've seen it, you're experiencing it. I think that's part of what you're going through right now. And basically, he's moved away from his faith. Maybe not intentionally. Maybe it's just a byproduct of what he's got himself involved in. Recently I've heard too that he's got money problems. He had to sell his music catalog for, I think, $200 million to get out of debt. He owed people money. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard so many people in that industry that made so much money and went broke because of the lifestyle, the extravagance, just the people that are around him that take advantage of him. All of a sudden you got a whole bunch of people around you trying to tell you what to do, trying to make a buck off of you, giving you advice, leading you in a certain direction, and they all got their hands out. That's the industry. That's the way it goes. I remember once I did a show and we were bringing a lot of these rappers in at Alcatraz, and every one of these rappers had 15 people representing them. We didn't even know who to talk to get to them personally. And they all had their hands out. They all wanted to make money. It's part of the industry. But it grinds on you and it gets to you. And he's obviously a sensitive kid and he's got a conscience. So if I were able to sit him down right here and talk to him, I would tell him, listen, first and foremost, get back to your faith. Get back to your faith. You can't depend upon people. People will always let you down. Even the ones that care about you, at times they're going to let you down, especially in this industry. You got to get back to your faith. Put your faith and trust in God the way you grew up to know him. That's it. I know people, they don't understand this, because God is not present. He's not sitting down with you. He's not talking to you. He doesn't put his arm around you. But you know what? There's enough there to know him, number one, in reading your Bible, and number two, getting around godly people. And I have to say this. He did surround himself with a godly person at one point in time, and that person let him down. I don't want to get into the names, but he was a pastor in New York, and very high profile pastor who had a fall of his own. And I think that was terribly discouraging to him, because Justin said, this is a man of God. And look what happened. And it was terribly disappointing to him. I know it because he stated that. Somebody that he put his faith and trust in. And I would tell him, Justin, you can't put your faith and trust wholly in anybody, because anyone at any time can let you down. Your faith is in God, and you never judge a perfect God by his imperfect people, because people do let you down. I tell my kids, as much as I love them, there may be a time when I'm going to let you down. I'm not perfect. I don't always do the right thing and always respond the right way in every situation. I may make a mistake. And you may look at that and say, Dad, how can you do that? It's not intentional. It just happens. So my advice to you, Justin, get back to your roots, get back to your faith. That's what it's all about. I know it's hard sometimes. It's difficult to get all the noise out of you, because you're constantly being barraged, because you're a talented young man who's made, millions of dollars for people, and they don't want to let you go. They don't want to let you live. They want to put you back in the studio. They want to use you as much as they possibly can. And I'll tell that to anybody. Anybody can say anything else. No, it's not that. Yes, it is that way. That's the industry. That's how it goes. I have a lot of respect for some people in this industry, and they're high profile. Harrison Ford, for example. Guys like that this is a business. They go to work, they do their thing, and then they have their personal life, and they manage it fairly well. There's some people that can do that, but the majority of people cannot, because of the pressure of the industry, what it puts on you. So Justin, sit down, let's have a talk. And my first advice is, get back to your faith. Get into your word every single day. Get to a good church with somebody you can rely on, not a church with people that want to use you or be around you or be close to you. A church where the pastor and the people there embrace you for who you are, not what they can get off of you. And you may think that's difficult to find, but it's not. There are those people out there. I'm in a wonderful church. My pastor, Greg Laurie, he would be a perfect mentor for you. And I'm not telling you to come here. He's in California, but I'm just saying there are good people out there that would really have a relationship with the Lord that they would pass on and use to help you. That's it. Don't listen to all these people. Don't let them put stuff in your head. You're a talented guy. You're always going to do well. Stay away from the drugs. Stay away from all of that. They feed you with that garbage so that they take advantage of you. That's what it's all about, because drugs weaken you. When you get into drugs, it's a crutch that you look for people to rely on. You don't do drugs alone. You do drugs with people you can party with. They want that. They want to use you. They want to be around you. They want to say they know Justin Bieber. That's what that's all about. That's the industry. You got to get away from that. Treat it like a business. This is how you do your work. Block out the media. I know it's hard because you're under a microscope, but you have to try. It's not easy. And especially for somebody that came up at a young age. You were in your formative years, and these people got a hold of you, and they used you in the best way that they could. And again, I don't know, whatever might have occurred between you and Diddy, you're a man enough not to talk about it for whatever reason. Okay, I get it. But if that's the case, let it go. Just let it go. He's got his own dealings he's going to deal with, and whatever happens in that situation happens. But again, get back to your faith. You're talking to somebody here that knows. I've been around a long time. You put your faith and trust in our God. That's first. That's number one. You get back to your roots, the roots that you were brought up in. And again, I wish I had time to spend with you, Justin, because look, I don't need anything off you. I don't want anything off you, but it's heartbreaking. I have kids too. I wouldn't want to see them go through what you're going through. My wife has a heart for you. As a matter of fact, she was the one that said, you need to talk to this young man. Maybe this will get to you. I don't know. I hope it does. And if it's not me, if it's somebody else, that can get a hold of you and sit you down and really, really give you some good advice and some good mentorship and help you to get all the noise away from you from this industry. If you need to take a break, take a break. The media, they're going to hound you. You're going to have to deal with it. You got to learn to live with it. It's tough. But again, the closer you get to God, the closer your relationship is with Jesus, the easier it is to block out the noise. And you're getting older now. You're getting more mature. You're going to reach a point, hopefully, where you really do know how to deal with all of this, Justin. But I want you to know there are people out there that do have a heart for you. There are people out there that are rooting for you, not because you're an industry icon, but because we want to see you do better. We don't want to see people take advantage of you. We want to see you get back on your feet the right way. And again, get all the noise away from you and just live your life. Do your craft. If this is what you're into, this is your passion, do your craft. Make your money, spend time with your wife and your little baby. You're a father now. What's better than that? Get into that. Put your family, God first, family right there with him. This is what you need to concentrate and focus on. And don't let anybody take advantage of you. Don't put your trust in. Yeah, you got to look at people. What does this person want from me? Why is he being nice to me? Why is he throwing his arm around me? Why is he trying to talk to me? You have to have your radar and your antenna up. There's no question, because most people out there are going to want to use you for their own, and you know this already. So yes, unfortunately, the position that you're in, you got to be somewhat of a detective, an investigator. Why is this person around me? What do they want from me? Or are they genuinely sincere? You gotta put your BS antenna up with people when they're talking to you, or they're trying to sell you a bill of goods. But again, I don't want to drag this out, but I do want to tell you there are people out there that are genuinely pulling for you and would like to see you come out of this, as a good family man, a good father, a good husband, and a good Christian. You know the Lord. You know it. You know the truth. Don't ever stray from it. And don't let anybody tell you different. Don't let them put this Hollywood BS into you that's become the new God. There's no God to replace our God. Remember that, Justin. So, hey, listen, what could I say, brother? Like I said, we're here pulling for you, and we're rooting for you, and we're praying for you. And I really mean that. My wife is praying for you every night. For some reason, you've touched her heart. And you know what? I feel the same way. So you got a family here, the Franzese family, that's really pulling for you and hoping that you come out of this. And if you ever need advice in an email, I don't have to meet you or whatever, but if I can ever help you, I've been through a lot in my life, let me know. And I'm telling you, I don't need or want anything from you at all. Not a thing. And I mean that genuinely. I'm 74 years old. I'm in pretty good shape in my life. Everything is good with me. And I hope that in any way that I can influence you in that way or lead you in the right direction, I'm here for you. And that's as one Christian brother to another. So that's it. And Britney, I don't know if you're going to hear this, but I'm telling you, we're praying for you also. I really mean it. My son was one time in love with you. He would have married you if he ever met you. He would have tried to anyway. He was in love with you. And my daughters loved you. You were like Britney Spears. I took them to see you in Vegas a couple of times. And we're really rooting for you too. We feel bad, everything that you've been through, this industry, what it can do to you. Especially when you're young and you grow up in it. There's so many stories out there. Look at the terrible stories of child actors, young people that have gotten into this industry, and people have taken advantage of that. And of course, the pressure's on you all the time. You got to be at your best. You got to perform. You get your self-confidence, your self-esteem. Whenever people are not rooting for you, you think, oh, I'm doing something wrong. No, You're young. You can't be judged by people all the time and let it go to your head. You can't do that. But we understand it. Again, I don't want to drag this out. We're rooting for you. We're praying for you both, Justin and Britney. And, I hope our prayers really mean something to you. And I know God will respond because you're two good people. All right? So that's it. My friends, how do I always leave you? Same way, never going to change. And, listen, anybody listening to this, all my Christian brothers and sisters, pray for them. Both of them. Pray for Justin. Pray for Britney. They've been under so much pressure. And don't look at the money that they've earned. That doesn't mean any. Well, look, money doesn't buy you happiness. It doesn't buy you contentment all the time. It buys you things. I bring this up all the time. J. Paul Getty, the richest guy in the world at that time, when he died, he had 7 people at his funeral. He was a miserable soul. Money can give you comfort. It doesn't always buy you happiness. There's so many people that I know with money that are miserable. And they're miserable in many cases because of their money. They don't know how to manage it properly. People are all over them all the time. So don't look at them and say, oh, they got all the money in the world. That doesn't matter. You could see these guys, this kid is struggling. They're both struggling. You could see it. So what is the money doing for them? Pray for them. Hold them in prayer. Lift them up. And let's hope that God responds in the way he always does respond, in a way that really sets them on the right path. That's it for today, my friends. How do I always leave you? Same way. Be safe. You know that. Be healthy. And yes, I hope God blesses each and every one of you. Bless your family. Bless your loved ones, your communities, the neighborhoods that you live in. And may God bless Justin Bieber and Britney Spears and every one of you out there. See you next time.